Hey guys, welcome back to the next video. In this video, we are going to talk about one of the important parts where you're going to get questions from, which is the pillar of well-architected framework. Now, this may be a little bit of theory, but I try to make it as interactive as I can so that I can explain you each and every component which is out here with some best practices and what AWS service is going to be attached to it. So likewise, you can actually relate it to the services which you're going to use as part of AWS. So that's something which I want to do and entertain you while I do this theory, understanding about it. Now, what is operation excellence? So that's something we're going to start with. So you can see that over here. So this is one of the points that, the questions may come in like, is this part of the well-architected framework? Or there will be a match the answers. So just you need to drag it and, place it on the right direction. So the questions could be like, if this, if this framework is part of which service. So it could be like that, or the moral practice for this framework. So that could also be that. So we'll discuss all about that in a very interactive way. Let's just try to see that. Well, when you talk about operational excellence, now what is operational? Operational means ensuring the operations run smoothly, consistently, that can be improved over time. So you have these three points over here. It runs smoothly and it runs consistently, which is very important, and it improves over the time. So these are the three focus points we are just going to cover here in terms of operations. And excellence is a word where you kind of improve it by the time, right? So that's where operational excellence is going to come in. The best practices to have an operational excellence is while monitoring your service, logging the information, and automating the operations. So in these three different ways, you can actually monitor the smoothness and have a consistency and have an improvement by using automations. Implement processes for responding to and learning from the operational events. So that is also pretty important for us. And what services can be used for this? You have something called AWS Cloud Formation for in terms of automation, where you want to do some repeated tasks over and over again. So you use Cloud Formation for automating those tasks in it. You can use AWS Cloud Watch, and you can watch the monitor the operations. You can log those operations. So that's called Cloud Watch. So the name itself tells you what it does. Like Cloud Formation talks about automation, right? So just try to relate them together so it becomes very easy for you when you go on the exam. So you have Cloud Formation, which basically does the automation, and you have the Cloud Watch, which watches your logs and monitors your logs and the smoothness of your operations and stuff like that. And you have AWS X-Ray. Now, X-ray is also used for monitoring. As the word X-ray says, it just, looks deep into your operations. So that's the name X-ray comes into the picture, right? So these are the three services which is related to operational excellence. All right. Now, when you talk about the next point over here in terms of security, which is very important. Why? Because security is everything about the pillars of well-architectured framework. Now, why we are even looking at well-architectured framework? Now we are new to AWS. An organization is firstly when an organization comes and talks to AWS. These are some of the important things that the organization would look for, right? And we are checking that whether AWS has it. And one of those important key points of an organization is security, isn't it? Now, the focus here is to protect data, protect the system, and protect the assets, which are, which are like very much available to take risk, right? Now we have to look for a way to mitigate the risk through strict access control. Now, what do you mean by strict access control? To create users, to create roles or policies for those users, and then have a group created for those users and assign those policies and roles rather than assigning to the user to a group, and then add users part of the group. So these are the first level or founding level steps of creating a protection for your system, data, and your assets, which is hosted on AWS. Now, the best practices is going to be about implementing stronger identity management, access control, which we use a service called access and management. It's called identity and access management, which is called IAM. So that's one service which we use. Use encryptions to protect data at the rest or in the transit. So when you are keeping the data in a storage or the data is getting transferred from one place to another, you need to use encryption. Now, AWS offers you KMS, which is a key management service. And the KMS is a common term which is used everywhere around the world when you're looking for a key management solution of holding and maintaining your root certificates, your intermediate certificates, and your private certificates, right? So that's where the KMS comes into picture. So AWS has the specific service for you. Rather than holding it elsewhere, you can hold it within AWS itself as part of a service. Now you can use the root certificate and the intermediate certificate to sign other certificates. So if you're new to this, very simple, root and intermediate certificates are the highest level of certificates a company can have, and that cannot be compromised at any case. So do remember that securing that is the topmost priority for us. So AWS comes with its own service called AWS KMS, which is Key Management Service. And then you have something called AWS Shield as well, which is gonna, audit, monitor your vulnerabilities using AWS Shield and AWS WAF. So these are the services. So what I would do is I will put down the name of the services over here so it's easy for you to understand. All right, now that you can take a screenshot of this if you need this. So now I have added the AWS CloudFormation, CloudWatch, AWS X-Ray over here for operational excellence. And for security, I've put in the IAM, which is Identity and Access Management, AWS Key Management Service or KMS, and you have the AWS Shield as in Shield as well as WAF for encrypting your stuff as well as to do audit and monitor your vulnerabilities. So these are some of the example use cases to secure your sensitive customer data, which is in transit or it's resting in a storage device. And IAM enforces the fine grinded privileges for your users. So using these methods, you can actually secure this. So that's the second pillar, which I want to talk about. The next pillar is the reliability. The reliability is so important for us. Why? Because that gives satisfaction to the customer saying that my service is going to be available 24/7. So that kind of a satisfaction is what is required to be given to any customer for that matter. So the focus is having designed systems to be reliable and to recover quickly from infrastructure or service, service disruption. So if there is any kind of issue or attack on your system should be, resilient enough to handle that attack and then understand that there is an attack and then, to work with fault tolerant, redundant, auto healing capabilities. So these are some of the capabilities which we're looking for. And in terms of implementing disaster recovery plan and backup should also be there for you in case of any kind of an emergency. Now, the services which you're going to talk about is Route 53, where you have Route 53 is nothing but your DNS service. Now, do remember that. All right. So now, one thing you should remember when we talk about Route 53 is that this is not just the normal DNS. It's a scalable DNS web service from Amazon Web Services. Now, why it is named as Route 53 rather than Amazon DNS, right? So that's a very good question if that's in your mind. Now, do remember that Route 53 over here is named after the 53, which is the actual port number of routing. So the DNS service port number is 53. So that's one reason why the 53 came into existence. And route, on the other hand, is basically, it basically reflects the function of the DNS. It basically routes the internet traffic, right? So that's the reason why it is named as Route 53 rather than DNS. So the DNS port number and the functionality of a DNS is what makes it Amazon Route 53. And Route 53, remember, it's a scalable DNS, not a normal DNS, but it can scale based on the request. So that is one thing. Second thing is the elastic load balancer. It's not a normal load balancer, it's elastic load balancer. The name elastic is attached to most of the services in Amazon. Now, if you ask me why, very, very simple. As it is a cloud, Amazon can increase and decrease the amount of resources which is required to handle the amount of request which has been coming through. So that is the main reason why we call elastic on most of the items here. So if you see, most of the items will be called as elastic, and if it has that scalability feature and function, then there is no doubt that it is called as elastic. Well, when you talk about holding backups is very important for us for reliability. So that when you are restoring the data, you'll be actually restoring the data from the backup. So that's the reason why we prioritize the backup, and the backup is stored on S3. Now, what is S3? S3 is simple storage solution. So that's three S's, right? So that's why it's called S3. So Amazon works on simplifying the names. So that's the reason why it's not called Amazon Simple Storage Solution. So it's called as S3. So that it's a kind of a bucket concept, like how you have in the Google Drive, you create folders and stuff, right? So you can create rather than buckets in there, and within the buckets you can actually create folders. Where in Google Drive we call it a drive, and then we create folders under the drive, right? So some same similar stuff over here. You will be able to create multiple buckets, and bucket should be it can be private or public buckets. And so by default, it is the public bucket, and these buckets has to have unique name, because as is the the buckets are going to be public, then your name should not be already exist on another bucket. So that's the reason why it's still like that. But when you talk about an web application which is deployed using multiple availability zone, ensuring one of the zone fails, right, another one takes over with a minimum downtime. Now that's only possible if you have that storage available, and it has been replicated across AZs. So that's something which Amazon promises you in terms of reliability, to have those applications reliably available across multiple AZs. Now, when you talk about the next item over here, which is performance efficiency, as you can see over here. Now, this is one of the important items which you're going to talk about. So the performance efficiency, which is this one over here. So this actually focuses on resource efficiently utilized and adjusting based on the demand to maintain optimal performance. Very important stuff. Okay. So one of the main pillars is that continuously reviewing resource utilization and optimizing your infrastructure, and also leveraging the right AWS service based on the workload pattern. So these are two important things, and that's where the services like auto scaling, CloudFront, and EC2 spot instances coming into picture. Now let's talk about this. Okay, let me give you an example. Let's just say that this is Black Friday is coming over the weekend, and automatically scaling up your compute capacity during the high traffic event And scaling down when the demand gets over is something which is very invaluable, isn't it? So looking at the system utilization, the CPU, the memory utilization, and then when you see that there is a higher amount of memory and CPUs utilized for some reason, and immediately scaling up more servers to handle that pressure, which is built upon a couple of servers, and then scaling up to 10 servers or 20 servers to handle that amount of requests coming through will actually give more customer space for your application. And doing this autonomously makes a lot of sense where you don't need an engineer assigned to do this, right? So AWS autoscaling is the best feature used at this time. Now, CloudFriend, what it does is like it's going to be, the name says CloudFriend, which means that it's going to be in the front of the cloud, right? It's going to be the forefront of a cloud traffic, and it will cache information there, right? That's the reason why they call it CloudFriend, because it caches the information which is coming from the server and serves that information to the customer much faster than the server directly serving the content. Another one is Amazon EC2 Spot instance, where you can spin up a Spot instance to support an existing one, and that instance will be, built based on the hourly plan. So that's basically Spot instance. So once the load is done, the load comes down, and you will have the normal billing going on. And at the same time, you would have addressed the increase in the traffic number. You would have addressed the issues with your current server instances because it's not able to handle the number of requests coming in. So likewise, there are so many features over here which we want to talk about in terms of performance efficiency. But these are the services attached to it which can help performance efficiency to be handled. The next one we're going to talk about is cost optimization. Now, cost optimization is going to help you a lot because it reduces the unnecessary costs while maintaining performance and meeting business goals, right? So what is going to be cost optimization? So cost of optimization is somewhat related to the performance efficiency, which we saw before. Now, in the performance efficiency, we were able to increase and decrease based on the performance of the system. Now, cost optimization is also going to be about, spending more when you have actual people or the service being looked upon, and spending less if it's not. That's the whole idea of having something called cost optimization. So now there are these services like which actually uses the right size resource and select most cost effective options like spot instance, reserved instance, likewise in terms of EC2 selection over here. So we have seen spot instance over here which comes up and you kind of get the hourly billing, and then there is this something called reserved instance where you reserve it for a period of time and you actually perform that. So for example, the same Black Friday sale, you're going to come, instead of taking a spot instance, you can reserve an instance saying that, oh, I need this amount of resource and I need to this bit of a time, so that you plan ahead and you have this reserved instance available for you to be used when you feel that that's going to be a huge sale point. Now, continuously monitoring the cost and optimizing the cost is one of the important things, and that will be handled by the service called AWS Cost Explorer. And you have AWS budget to set up budget, and you can actually make sure that you don't cross the budget. But if it crosses the budget, it's going to send you an intimation, but it's not going to stop the service from running. So that's another thing. So a use case is like when you're using EC2 Spot instance for a non-critical workload to reduce the compute cost by up to 90% compared with on-demand pricing. So that's going to be helpful for you in terms of working with your cost. The last pillar and the newest pillar is the sustainability. Now, sustainability focuses on minimizing environmental impact by improvising energy efficiency and optimizing resource usage. Now, choosing AWS region with low carbon emission is going to help you in terms of the environment impact. Also, the architect of the system that uses few resources and are energy efficient. So you need to architect in that way. Now, there are these few services which can help you with that. AWS region powered by renewable energy and AWS compute optimizer. So these are some standards the company wants to keep in terms of carbon utilization, and as well as like using renewable energy for hosting their servers. So in those situations, you can actually go for these two services and understand which regions are powered by renewable energy, and what is the compute optimization which you can do to reduce the amount of energy which is being consumed by your project. Now, do remember that there is a key difference in terms of pillar which can overlaps each other. So operational excellence ensures that the system can be efficiently managed, while security ensures that the system and the data are protected. Reliability focuses on making system fault tolerant and highly available, while performance efficiency ensures that the right resources at the right time. Cost optimization ensures that resources that are cost effectively, and sustainability adds an environment perspective towards reducing energy consumption. So you can actually combine these items together and work with them. All right. So I think I've spoken enough on the theory part of things. On the pillar of well-framed architecture, we have two more theories coming up on the next video, but that's all focusing on your exam. So this is something which we need to do mandatory, because for the exam. Thank you again for your time and patience. If you have any questions, leave it on the question section. I hope that this video was entertaining a little bit. If not, just let me know. I will do something else for the same. Thank you again. See you in the next one.